Welcome to the Parallel Intersection exhibition. My name is Jenny Linde and I'm a curator of this show. We stand here in the exercise hall in Landskrona and we will show 28 artists who are in the beginning of their career. The title of the exhibition is Under Deconstruction, and that's because of when I dig into this amount of work, I realize that every one of the artists questioning the photographic method, and they construct new forms of photography. I will take you on a guided tour through the exhibition, and we will also meet one of the artists, Elsa Gregersdotter. This is Joshua Tarplin's work, A Stress-Free Point of View, and he is searching for his own grammar, you can say, by photographing his closest family and friends, trying to find a language of his own. Elsa, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my name is Elsa and I'm an artist from Sweden, Stockholm. And in this work, I look at myself. No, I look at this tree and think of myself. I explore the family picture and what it means to be in front of the camera and the relationship between the family member and me.
When I see your work, I mainly think of that you have in your method, you have a playfulness, but there is also some dark elements in that. And I think that's such a good balance. Is that something you think of when you are taking the photos, or if something that comes, afterwards, or with the editing? Or
when I do my photos, I want to laugh, and when I'm laughing at the photo, then I feel like I have the picture. So I think I'm very driven with humor and maybe I have a bit of dark humor because I like when it's a bit uncanny and weird.
Yeah, you can tell it works. And can you tell us a little bit about this box? It's almost like a Latana Magica.
Yeah, inside the box it's 3 photos of my mother and father. And the reason why I took the photos of them is because of the contact sheet that I found when they are making a photo shoot with being pregnant with me. So then I took my own photos of them and also without clothes and looking in the mirror.
And they are standing in an exercise hall, or?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Actually, they are. A dance hall.
Like we are standing in. Yeah.
That's true. I didn't think
it's like it's nice as well.
Yeah. So I wanted to complete the series with a beginning and an end.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Behind me is Domonkos Varga's work, Acts of Cassandra, and he is showing us dystopian images. Exactly as the myth, we are not sure what we are looking at.
Hello, my name is Joachim Bøgedal. I'm a Danish-Swedish artist working with photography. My work for Parallel is titled Emissaries. It's consisting of 16 individual pieces where the flowers inside of them are the same in each piece, and the symbolic meaning is stated in the bottom of the frames. The meanings or the symbolisms are coming from the Victorian age, where you would give coded messages through flower bouquets. So this is turned into a statement that when it's hanging on the wall, each word associates with another and is turned into a coded message, a flower bouquet, if you want to say so.
Hello, my name is Jošt Dolinšek, and this is my work called To Move the Sun and Earth Away. It is a photographic and sound project dealing with the idea of dualisms in connection with our relationship with nature, a perception of facts and perspective bias. The work itself is not about any environmental crisis. It rather asks questions on the human reaction to it and the reasons behind it. The intimate setting aims to confront the viewer with the set questions and works as a kind of a perceptual playground for the viewer.
I'm Margherita Muriti, and I'm an artist who lives between France and Italy, and this work I developed this year thanks to parallel support arises from some questionings around the way we relate to images, the power they have on us, and the relation between the act of seeing and touching. It focuses on the idea of transformation of images, as the title somehow suggests. And I'm interested in looking at how we take pictures, how I, first of all, we take picture and how we look at them, how we read them, and how we make picture. And I found very interesting to see how in Byzantine culture the disappearance of an image was seen as an act of devotion rather than an act of defilement. And it was somehow a way for the image to go through the body of the one who looked at it. And the whole project evolves around a study of gestures, the photographic gesture itself, as well as a series of repetitive gestures I went through during the making process. And I like to say that I worked in this in-between space, a space between the image and my hands. And this space that Jean-Luc Nancy very finely names the proximity space. It's this empty space where physical contact happen and where interesting things happen. And during the whole process, I went through many materials works, and the one I finally choose, walks, is somehow the most similar to our body. And it has something very organic, very malleable, and it assumes very easily the temperature of my hands. And the interesting thing is that it transforms itself with the temperature. And I would say that somehow it translates, it's a physical translation of an image life, how it changes considering its time and its place. And it is also a almost literal way to think about how light works in photography, how it hides and reveals things. And I think that somehow images come always from a desire, maybe first of all a desire of touching. And I really like the way we have somehow looked at light as a body itself that joins together the one who look with the one who is looked at, and it's maybe what allows a physical encounter between things, between people.
Hi, my name is Søren Lilholt, and my project Echoes of Contingency investigates the possibility for images to resonate as these sort of subconscious echoes of the world. They're about the private life of images and how images detach themselves from their creator and live their own life and can interact in new constellations all the time. And they're about the connection between images and the memory and the imaginary. So they're made with these special made filters in front of them, which makes it impossible for the viewer to see all of the images in their collective entirety. So to get like a flow between the images, you would have as a viewer to use your own imaginary and memory to unfold the work.
My name is Sara Perovic, and my work is called My Memory Yours, and it's about how we register the memories in our brain and how the details are going to disappear. So at the end, what we remember, it's like just an overlapping memory. And so within this work, I'm portraiting my daughter and her childhood, and within these vivid photographs, I'm remembering my childhood, and within, I'm tailoring my own memories. So what is presented, it's like the semi-transparency, it's significant because you don't perceive one image as it, but as it's, and it works like the memories in our brain. So they are overlapping, and at the end, you will never remember that this was what is the truth of what we are taking with us.
Hello, my name is Siggelkow. I'm an artist based in Cologne, Germany. And the work I'm presenting is called Lotus Power 2. It is concerned with the medium of the image, and it's especially like nature as image, I would say. And this seems to reinforce the image own polarity of closeness and distance. And the term nature maybe can be seen as like a projection surface for the desire for eternity, which is, however, not achieved by a bonding civilization, but rather in this in-between, in the pictorial. And what I did for my work, I was searching for nature via the Google algorithm, and especially for meadows, because meadows are this really in between. They are not agricultural land and they are not wilderness. They are associated with the garden or the Garden Eden, etc. And while I was searching for these meadows, I found a press picture, like a meadow that was a press picture, and the related press text was quite interesting. It described how a man tries to prevent the meadow in front of his balcony from going wild. He's sending letters to the district office to say he does not want to look on the forest, he wants to look on the meadow. And before it was agricultural land, but he wants really just to look on the meadow. And I found this story very interesting for this work. And I work with that, and I, for example, also work with like meadows. I printed on like 80-gram paper, and I let them drift on like an artificial meadow, I would say. It's fabric, and over it you have water, and they drift on this water. And they are quite annoying because at first you think nothing is going on. It's just they don't move, but they move really slowly, and while they move, they lose their ink, and the ink is washed underneath in the water, and this ink is quite poison, so it's washed in the water, And after a while, you have just a loose feeling what was on the picture, like it's getting really abstract. So yeah, I think that's a short introduction into my work, and yeah, that's it.
Hello, my name is Diego Ballestrasse. I'm an Argentinian photographer living in Barcelona for the last 20 years. I'm saying that because I'm working with my family archive, so that approaching from my family album allows me to connect with my family. This is the name of this work is the third trip to Chapelco, el tercer viaje a Chapelco. Chapelco is a hill in the Patagonia, Argentinian Patagonia. So this is kind of second chapter of my work with my family archive that began 5 years ago. So in this second chapter, I'm approaching the idea of my family archive and how the memory works. The title refers to a trip that my parents made to the Patagonia 50 years ago. That was the first trip to the Patagonia. The second one was 10 years later when I was 5. And this is kind of third trip to the past through the images and a video. The work is divided in some slides that I make a reframe. I've been reframing it, and a Super 8 video and a triptych. So it's allowed me to connect with my family and also explore the physical objects and connect with my family and research how memory works. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Indrė Urbonaitė. I'm an artist from Lithuania, currently based in the Netherlands. And here I'm showing my work for the first time, which I made as part of parallel program. And now it's for the first time being shown in Landskrona Foto Festival. The work titled Don't Speak Loudly, it's harmful for butterflies, and it's video and audio installation. And it's the work that speaks about the never-ending man's desire to find utopian beauty in nature. At the same time, it addresses the conflict between the expectations and reality, and our constantly growing need to travel, particularly now when we are not allowed to. So the whole installation takes the viewer on a short vacation that is so familiar yet doesn't exist. The videos are the fragments that I filmed from my screen with my phone, and these are the fragments of image and video banks that shows the holiday landscape in the most cliché way, and together with my handheld movement, reflection, and autofocus, they form new abstraction. The audio is a guided tour that brings the viewer on a disappointing hiking trail that, with the goal of finding the butterflies as a metaphor to the beautiful scenery.
Hello, my name is Anka Gregorczyk, and I'm showing a series of pictures called Body during the exhibition here in Landskrona. And this series of pictures is part of the bigger project called Beyond, which is connected with the story that stands behind exploring the space by people, and with understanding that as humans we are not so sure about our future in space anymore, because we need gravity to survive. And the whole story is about finding the way to understand that we have to adapt to very new conditions and new environment without gravity or in low gravity. So in my project I use archival material from NASA and ESA. I also use my own experience and limitations of my body and my health just to understand how the perfect body works and if we need perfect body to survive in space.
Hi, my name is Vitaly Ganja. I'm working and living in Kiev, Ukraine, and in my series I'm working with the theme of human relationships and draw a poetic reflection on social communication through dreamlike scenes, alluding to wider concerns of today's realities.
My name is Jordi Barreras. I'm a photographer from Barcelona. I'm based in London, and I'm presenting here this work which investigates the relation between architecture and social stigma. This work is done in the housing estates in London, in the area where I live, in the neighbourhood of Hackney. And this work, the idea of this work comes through my personal experience as a photographer in London. I used to work as a commercial photographer for real estate agents, and when they have sent me works in the housing estates, I have noticed that the architecture in the public housing and the private housing have some difference. That it's the one that I'm investigating here. This work basically is focusing on the social stigma and the architecture of the housing estates. My impression when I have visited these estates is that, for example, they look like a prison. It's kind of architecture that takes for granted that the people who live there are potential criminals who need to be always under ways of surveillance. The main thing that made me approach in that way and find this kind of architecture is, for example, the highways, the open areas, the fact that are constantly illuminated, so there's no hidden spaces in the majority of the housing estate. There are no hidden spaces, there are no shadows, they are always illuminated, and that made me think that this kind of architecture and urbanism take for granted that the people who live there are potential criminals, as I say, that need to be constantly under ways of surveillance.
Hi, I am Caroline Kolkman, and this is my series, Rambling Sack of Mirrors. It seems impossible to look at the world as if from a blank slate, objectively, without our emotions, our knowledge, our earlier experience interfering with what we see. The series title, A Rambling Sack of Mirrors, is an endearing term for our minds. It illustrates how our earlier experiences reflect in our further experiences. In this series, I photographed familiar domestic scenes, and I then printed and re-emerged those photographs into the original scene. What then happens is that you get both situations simultaneously, and they influence each other, one imposing on the other. They blend, they mix like a rambling sack of mirrors.
Hello, my name is Carola Lampe. I'm from Germany, and I'm showing my work Tell Me What to See, which investigates the impact digital technologies have on human behavior and experience. In search of the future, the project focuses on data, algorithms, and artificial intelligence. Our lives is getting more and more controlled by algorithms and artificial intelligence, and this is sort of the starting point of this project. And those technologies might have a good and convenient impact, but it might also put too much control in the hands of governments and business corporations. as digital technologies are rapidly developing, we find ourselves more and more in simulated environments. And it's it's getting more and more difficult to distinguish between real and fake. So in this project, I'm dealing with questions like what is real, what is fake, what does the machine see? Is it different to our view? Are we constructing a new reality? So I have created images in 3 ways. I've taken images outside in the real world, I constructed images in the studio, and I use computer-generated or by artificial intelligence-generated images. And I tried to make the invisible visible, and was interested in the tension between the human and the machine. And that's basically what my project is about.
Hi, I'm Jordi Selley, and this is my project Human Exploitation. The work revolves around a manual, a military training manual of the same name called the Human Exploitation Training Manual. And it was used at a military academy called the School of Americas, which was set up in Panama in 1946. And this was a US military academy that trained Latin American soldiers. And in all, 11 Latin American dictators from the 70s and 80s were trained at the school, and some of the region's most notorious human rights abusers. The school was mainly concerned with teaching interrogation techniques. It advocated the use of torture, beatings, false imprisonment, executions, and they used a textbook called the Human Exploitation Training Manual. And the work all revolves around this manual. And it takes sections of text, deconstructs sections of text from the manual, and pairs them with images. And the images are all taken from the University of Milwaukee's photography archive. They're taken by 2 photographers called Isaiah Bowman and Eugene Vernon Harris, and they were using photography to chart and map and discover, document Latin America on behalf of the US Foreign Service. And so the project really revolves around this archive of imagery and the archive from the training manual. The text from the training manual is associated and paired with images from the archive. And I think the whole idea of the project really is to try and challenge somehow the historical narrative and the way that we understand what happened in Latin America in the 70s and the 80s. And I think I was very inspired by Walter Benjamin and his concept of rettung. He used the word rettung a lot, to rescue or salvage things from the debris of history, things and people that have been forgotten by the grand historical narrative, and to place them at the forefront and to try and give them new significance. And that's the kind of idea behind the project.